Nicol. Well, the question is that the report on the Commerce Committee on the 2008-09 financial review of Solid Energy Limited be noted. Those of that opinion will say aye. Those of the contrary opinion no. The ayes have it. The next entity I understand members wish to debate is the MidCentral District Health Board. And the question is that the report on the Health Committee of the 2008-09 financial review of MidCentral District Health Board be noted. Sue Kedgley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to congratulate MidCentral District Health Board for their review of the quality of aged care through a special audit they undertook last year when they were worried about the numbers of complaints that they were receiving about the quality of care in MidCentral Health. And so they were worried that the issues that were being raised could be endemic. So they decided to conduct a special audit of 8 facilities in MidCentral District Health Board, and what they found were instances of neglect and abuse, numerous and wide-ranging and systemic problems which they said had caused significant risk to the safety of residents and resulted in an unsafe environment for residents. Many of the issues, the problems that they found, they said were breaches of the District Health Board contract and of the legislation. And there are things such as medication errors, untrained staff dispensing medicines, acute shortages of staff, and people who had falls and so forth not being attended to, or people who had illnesses which had not been detected. I could go on and on, but the picture that emerges from reading the MidCentral District Health Board special report, which, as I say, I congratulate them for doing this, for taking this initiative and doing it. But I have to say that the picture that is emerging from this report is the same picture that is emerging from an investigation that Luamanu Vau, Winnie Laban and myself are conducting around New Zealand. And we've now held, I think it's about 12 public meetings. But as well as that, we've been meeting with aged care nurses and aged care workers privately, because of course many of them are not able to speak publicly about the situation for fear that they would immediately lose their jobs. And this same picture is emerging of institutional neglect and in some cases even abuse. Just to give you an example, last night I met with 20 aged care workers. They talked, the sort of things they were talking about. They said there is a widespread acute shortages of staff in the sector, particularly at weekends where it is commonplace for only half of the staff that are designated to work in an aged care facility. Only half of the staff will be on duty. One of the reasons, of course, is that they're only paid, if they're lucky, 50 cents an hour extra to work at weekends. So we'll have mostly casuals and students and untrained people working in the weekends and in the evenings. I had a couple of people there last night. One nurse had 64 people residents she was in charge of. Another had 70. Now they said, what happens? I said, what happens when there are no staff in the evenings and the weekends? They said, well, basically what they do is they leave residents in bed all weekend. That's the only thing they can do, is literally just leave them in bed all through the weekends, through the evenings. And they said they're simply unable to attend them. They gave me examples, and we've had many reports of people who have had a fall, who could be left for an hour or so before someone discovers them, and of course people just being unattended to for hours on end because there literally are no staff. And I might say that in my own experience, when I went to an aged care facility to visit over a 6-week period, that was my experience of a complete absence absence of staff. There was no one to be seen, and there were residents just lying in their beds day after day after day. Other things they talked about: showers. Apparently a lot of them, for most residents, now they're only being showered twice a week. If they're lucky, 3 times a week. Not being toileted enough. They'll have aged care workers will say to them, "I'm sorry, we don't have enough staff, you'll just have to wait for an hour or so." Not being walked properly, not being fed properly, the meal just being left, people can't feed themselves, being dehydrated, and so on and so forth. And of course the other incident is that aged care workers, it's becoming apparently routine for aged care workers to be dispensing medication, even though, as the Minister pointed out in the House, this is technically illegal.